to the window, and I don't know why, if you're taller, they put the windows like chest high. So to look out the window, you have to kind of crane your neck. Do you know what I'm talking about? You're sitting there playing like, I'm looking at other people, I'm waving at them. I'm thinking that this flight, which is a 5.5-hour flight, yeah. Is it too loud? I can't. See, I don't think I need the microphone. Is that loud if I talk? Is this how loud I talk? Yeah. All right, so anyway, I'm on this airplane, I'm sitting there, and wait, I lost. Okay, yeah, so I'm sitting there, and there's this open seat next to me, so it's like 3 seats. I'm against the window, he's the fuselage. I'm sitting right here on the airplane, and it's open in the middle, and then there's this Oriental lady sitting there. It's very important, her nationality, you'll find out later. So anyway, I'm sitting there on the airplane. I'm sitting there thinking a 5.5-hour flight. I'm going to be worse place next. A 5.5-hour flight. I have an open seat. This is awesome. I was going to read this book, Do Hard Things, because I was supposed to read it for this thing I was reading. I hadn't read it yet. I don't know if you ever read that, but you're supposed to read a book, but you don't read it, so you have to kind of grab it. That's what I was doing. Plus, for me, when I read a book, it puts me to sleep. So I thought this is perfect. 5.5 hours to Alaska. I can just sit there and read a book and off I go. So I'm sitting there thinking I have the open seat in the middle. I'm like, this is awesome because I'm so large and muscular. I need some room to spread out, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, I'm sitting there, and then it happened. The next thing I'm going to say with this story happened in a nanosecond, but it takes me like 45 minutes to explain. You're going to get out of here by midnight. It'll be awesome. So anyway, I'm sitting there, and I'm watching who's coming because the plane's filling up. And I like having an extra seat, I'm such a statue, yeah. So they're coming down, and I noticed that they're dressed just a little bit different. I didn't think anything of it because most people don't dress as cool as me, like a hoodie. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, this could be odd. While that's going through my head, somebody sits behind me, right behind me, in the seat right behind me. And then this other kid comes, and he sits down right in the middle seat. Right in the middle seat, and that was a cord. So I'm sitting there, and now the middle seat's taken. Instantly, as soon as he sits down, it's as if someone took my nostrils, ripped them open with both hands, and into my nostrils flowed the most wretched, god-awful, stanky, stir it with a canoe paddle BO you have ever smelled in your entire life. Like, it would be like taking that nasty gym bag that you never, ever change clothes. You work out, get all stinky, sweaty, underwear, socks, stinky armpit BO. You leave it there for a month. Then you open it and shove your face in it. And inhale. I mean, I didn't know humanity, it was possible, except for when I went to Europe one time, but I didn't know it was possible to smell this bad. This cat was 15, I'm a pastor. I'm supposed to love everyone. I wanted to punch him in the face and tell him, it stunk bad. It was awful. So I'm sitting there wondering, what am I going to do? This is terrible. He's like, looking at me like, hi. And I'm like, shut up, kid. And then I'm sitting next to the fuselage. Let's say it's him. But anyway, so and I shoved my nose into the plastic, white, whatever plastic, to try to smell anything that would get this nasty stench out of my face. His brother sat right behind me. He was suffering from the same affliction. So I'm enveloped in this wad of stank. Do you remember how long the flight was? Turn to the person next to you and tell them how long the flight was. It was horrible. And then the Oriental lady has some sort of Chinese Asian noodle surprise, which when you're at home is fine, but on an airplane, she ordered hot water and brought it out of her bag and mixed it all up. And I was just like, what? Because now there's this smell. I'm sure it tasted fantastic, and as someone's home or a restaurant, it's great, but on an airplane, it smelled terrible because you mix it with the smell. There's this young couple, I don't know if they were married, but they were making out a lot. They were sitting next to me. Right behind me, and she opened up the girl. She's some young chica. She wasn't very cute. Anyway, she takes her like Victoria's Secret raspberry surprise, sticks it all over her finger, rubs it on her nose, and then does it to her fiance or boyfriend because they had stinky brother number 2 sitting next to them. It was horrible. I was wide awake for 5.5 hours. Every time I read a book, I fall asleep. On this trip, I was like this for 5.5 hours. I was starting to think, like, why does it smell so? So then, flown on an aerial plane? Raise your hand if you've flown on an aerial plane. Okay, so the rest of you have no idea about this next part. Anyway, so you're sitting on an airplane. Let's say, what's your name? Grant. Let's say, have you flown on an airplane? Sweet, perfect. So Grant, you're sitting on an airplane, you're hot, you're kind of pitting out. What do you do to cool yourself off? Drink water. Think. What? No, you're sitting there and there's a ventilation system that you have access to, Grant. Where is it? Right, so what do you do in your arm when you adjust it? So this dude's sitting next to me. Remember, I'm sitting in the airplane like this. He's sitting right here. He's sitting over here like this, adjusting the airplane right in my face. It's like he took the steak and multiplied it factorially. Those of you who are in math will understand what I'm saying. This is a math equation of steak. It was horrible. Right in my face. I was like, it's terrible. So I was like, dude, can you put your arm down, you big jerk? No, I didn't say that, but I wanted to. So I passed him. I'm supposed to tell him Jesus loves me, but I wanted to punch him in the face. So let me get over northern Canada to the glaciers. He'd never seen a glacier before. He'd never been on an airplane before. Possibly he wasn't, maybe he hadn't been to our core camp with his body type, if you're picking up what I'm laying down. So anyway, he's sitting there, and he leans into my personal space. The space that is mine. My bubble. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? You feeling me on this one? So my bubble. He leans over, and I kid you not, his man boob brushed up against it. And I'm like, it's terrible. True story. I'm not making it up. Here's my question for you tonight. Here's my question. What do you do with the stink of sin in your life? What do you do with the stink of sin? Because when I stink, and possibly there are times I can lather up a bit of an odor according to my smoking hot wife. The other night, we're laying in bed. No, I won't tell you that story. The other night, when we were watching TV and I had my arms up, and she kind of was like, oh, honey, I love you so much. You're so muscular and hot. You know, girls. She rolls over and is like, oh, Jake, go shower. It was terrible. But anyway, my question, we're talking physical BO, which as athletes we can all produce. Ladies, I know you glisten, you don't sweat. You just listen. I'm just listening. I'm not sweating. I don't smell. But all of us, we use things to cover up our stink. Today, after I got this mess already up in Albertville where I live, I put on deodorant. Why? Because if I don't, by now I would stink. In fact, I'm pitting out right now. I'm kidding. So what do you do with the stink of sin in your life? As athletes, you know that when you break a rule, there are consequences. There are consequences. Where's my basketball players? Right here. Let's say you're standing outside of that little, do they have the arc in high school? I forget. The charger mark underneath the basket or not? They don't. But you're standing there. You're set, and someone of my size and stature comes flying through you. I mean, just blows you up and sends you all the way to the cheerleaders, which might not be bad. Not David, but anyway, what would happen? I'd be called for a charge, exactly. In all of sports, we know that when you break a rule, there is a penalty. No matter what sport. If you're in swimming, you leave early, there's a penalty. If you are in hockey, you take your stick and bash it into the back of the kid in front of you, you're probably going to get a cross-checking penalty. We know this in sport, it's obvious. When you break rules, there's penalties. When you break rules, you feel bad, especially if it's important play and all of a sudden you get a yellow card, which I got a lot. Any soccer players in here? Any soccer players? That was my sport. And I couldn't run very fast. I couldn't kick, I couldn't do much with the ball. I had one move, but I could kick the ball hard and I could run people over. So most games, I got a yellow card and some red cards. But we know that in sport, when you break a rule, there's a penalty for that. And we know that when you break a rule, you feel bad. We know that. As athletes, we've been conditioned in our culture to know that in sport, when you break a rule, it's not fun. It stinks. But I want to talk a little bit more tonight about our lives. about our lives as young high school students, young high school athletes. And I want you to think tonight with me, because we're going to talk about some easy decisions, or some easy ways that we can shipwreck our lives, that we can do stupid things that will mess up our lives. And by the way, let me say this. The reason that I'm a Christian, the reason that I love Jesus Christ, the reason that I'm a pastor and work for FCA is because of one reason. And it's not because I'm better than any person in here. I'm not better than you. I'm not higher up on the pole of totemness than you. The reason I'm a Christian is right here. Because I need Jesus. I need Jesus to change me and make me into the person I was originally created to be. The person I was created to be back in the garden when God created humanity. But here's what happens. We are deceived, we are lied to by sin. Sin is slippery, and we do something and it doesn't seem so bad, but pretty soon it leads to things that are worse. And the thing I want you to think about tonight is when you make a choice. Coach Hoyer talked about decisions that you make. The decisions that you make will set you on a path that will lead you to your destination. Let me say that again. The decisions you make this year will set you on a path that will lead you to a destination. It's your choice what that destination looks like. And we live in a culture that I know we are very, very, very good at rationalizing sin. And making what we do that's wrong seem like it's okay. But that's like the stinky kid on the plane feeling like and thinking he doesn't stink. He might rationalize somehow through years of therapy with his olfactory nerves or something that he really doesn't smell. But all those around him knew on that airplane that that cat stunk bad. It's the same thing with us in our lives. And there are things that we all do in our lives that could easily lead us down a path where the destination is not pretty. Because sin stinks. Sin is gross. Sin is disgusting. Turn the person next to you with a nasty face like someone just farted and say, sin is disgusting. Right now.
Sin is disgusting.
Let's go.
Yeah. Sin is disgusting.